very good architecture and really having a good basis for the continuation. So we're very happy to support this and to see that it has triggered so much interest. So I think for our side, unless you have other questions afterwards, I'll pass the hand to Isidro maybe or to Claudia.
Good afternoon, everyone. I agree with Cristina that there is a lot of interest and this is very good for us. My name is Isidro Campos Rodriguez. I'm working in Agri D4. My unit is responsible for the implementation of the FAST in the Common Agricultural Policy. Well, as you probably know, the objective of the FAST is the wider adoption of nutrient management plans in agriculture. This is in the CAP proposal, but also is one of the vectors considered in the strategies of the Commission to reduce the pollution by nutrients in agriculture. Well, going back to the project, our interest here is to reach or to develop a tool operational for farmers that provide the minimum requirements of the FAST in the legislation. And for us, this project is part of the support of the Commission to the member state to implement the FAST. This is the support more in the IT part, no? Other actions also oriented to support the member states are studies oriented to gather information about nutrient management plan to harvest the existing knowledge in this field. And of course, we continue available for the member states interested on the implementation of the FAST. I have no more to say. Happy to receive your questions or comments during the last part of the webinar. Thank you.
Hello, I am Claudia Mureșan. I work in the data management team of the DG Defense Industry and Space. I work mainly on Copernicus data and data exploitation. I would like to thank all the participants. I would like to thank my colleagues, and I would like to thank the members of the Copernicus constituency that are present and that are interested in our action, in our joint action with DG Agri and DG Digit. I would like to just say one short thing about why we are participating and we are so enthusiastically participating in this project. It is because we see this action as part of our wider data management and information management strategy for Copernicus data and for Galileo-based data and services. And we see it like this because we think that we need to go the extra step to make sure that the necessary infrastructure is in place for our data and Copernicus-based services and solutions to reach the sectors where they can most be used. So this obviously common agricultural policy is one of the main sectors of interest for us. So we see this FAST action as an anchor action in our strategy for Copernicus data exploitation. So we are gladly supporting this first part of the FAST action, which is together with 3 member states that have participated and that are participating and giving us an incredible amount of cooperation, which is Estonia, Spain, and Italy. So we are very happy to accompany this first use case, which is on the farm sustainability tool and the setting up of the infrastructure for that. And we would welcome you, all the participants that have a decision role or that can talk about this, to take this into account as for the development and the scaling up of the platform for more use cases that we hope are very Copernicus data intensive, that take advantage of our the infrastructure that we make available, the data and information access platforms that we set up, the DIASys, and so on. So I hope you enjoy this presentation because it's really the first real the first presentation of what we have developed the midterm with this action, and we shall be gladly making more targeted presentations to different stakeholder groups, and we shall be providing information on this action both on our site, which you see on the screen. This webinar will be also recorded, so feel free to promote this and to get back to us if you're interested in knowing more. Thank you and enjoy. And yes, I would like to introduce, just for a brief few words, my colleague from the GSA, from our EU Space Program Agency, who also have an important input in this project. Joaquin.
Okay, thank you, Claudia. Thank you, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. And just in a few words about why I am here now is basically to demonstrate the support of the European GNSS agency, the next European Space Program Agency. And just to share with you that we are helping and supporting FastTool developing eGNSS for CAP. It's a tool for geotag pictures using the eGNSS, meaning EGNOS and Galileo differentiators for improving the accuracy and authenticating the position of the devices, considering that this app is targeted to be used in a smartphone, and all the smartphones can have the possibility to use EGNOS and Galileo. Let's try to use it, and let's try to share the knowledge between us. So nothing else. Thanks a lot.
To talk about FAST, just briefly, what we're going to look at today consists of what you see to the starting at the top with the Farmer mobile app. We're going to be showing it live, the live system. Also, the web interface just to the left of the Farmer mobile phone. Yes, thank you, Julian. And just to the left of the phone is the web interface, and then the data access API layer for people interested in connecting to data on the FAST platform. So without any further ado, I'll pass the mic to Julian and let him take over for the demo.
Okay, thank you, Suzanne. Good morning, everyone. So we're going to show you first, as Suzanne mentioned, the mobile application in its current state of development. So let me just go through these housekeeping slides. I'm going to show you the application. So it's running in a simulator on my computer, but it's a real application that runs on a real mobile phone. So it's based on open source web technologies, so which make it portable to the web as well. It's compatible for iOS and Android operating systems. It's localized. The current version is not yet localized. That means not yet translated, but it will be done. And there is a desktop version that will be made available also for farmers who do not have the required mobile phones. They can also access it through the web. And it will embark features and capabilities from the eGNSS geotagging photos application developed by the GSA in the future. So I'm going to go straight to the application. So the application, it's a single application that will be available for all participating regions. There is not an Italian version and a Spanish version and an Estonian version. It's the same application. And in the application, the first step for the user is to select the region he's connecting to. So today we are going to demonstrate with data from the Castilla y León region. We have loaded all the data in a demo environment and created a demo let's say demo data to show you today in Castilla y León. So the user connects, logs in, is redirected to the authentication portal of FAST. So he has two ways to connect. The main way for the farmer will be to connect using his ID from the Organismo Pagador de Castilla y León. That means his ID that he gets when he makes his CAP submission. For today's demo, we're not going to use this system because we are going to show you demo data. So we're going to use the FAST authentication system, which is a login system where you can decide on the login, and we have created a demo user that I am going to use to connect. Wait a little bit while it connects, and we see that when the farmer connects, in today's environment, so there is a demo holding that is the one that we are going to showcase, and we see that this demo has one campaign that is active. That's the current one or the next one from 2020 to 2021. And that's the active campaign in the mobile app currently. So all the features that we are going to see later relate to this campaign. So the homepage of the FAST application, some of you have seen already that on the prototype or on the mockup from the previous versions, but is made of information that we want to surface to the farmer. The information that we show today is the weather, so that's a preliminary version of weather, but this is connected to real data from the IMET service from Spain. So it's the real weather forecast in Castilla y León. On the same page, the user will be able to see the latest satellite imagery. So here we have an NDVI calculation on the image of the 5th of July. It's where we overlay all the plots of his farm and other information that might be important for him, so or her. So we see here that, for example, a new user has been added to his farm. Could be an advisor, for example, who now has access to his farm in FAST. So the user is made aware of that. And there is also the messaging system, which we are not going to showcase today. Messaging system that allows the user to receive messages from the paying agency, and the notifications will be also surfaced on the homepage. If I stay here on this map, let's go for full screen so that we can see it a bit bigger. The user can select the date, for example, of the Sentinel image that is displayed. So we can change the date and a new image displays, and we can change it again and a new image displays. So the user can see the evolution of the NDVI index on his farm. We will see that on other maps in other places of the app later on, but these layers are accessible everywhere. I could hide the layers, and we can see the farm, and we can also show the some regulatory environment that he might be in. So we see that just south of the farm there is a big Natura 2000 area. You can see that there is a nitrate vulnerable zone that is somewhere northwest from here. We also can show that we have the hydrography layer that is loaded, which allows us to compute constraints later on for the farm, and see that the farm, for example, is close to a river, so might have some constraints with regard to nitrates or water directive that we want to compute automatically for the farmer. I'm going to go back to this screen. Now I can go to the farm, and I have the farm description. The farm tab holds all the farm description. So again, the same map shows a summary of the farm with all the plots that are currently in the farm, and we have also the same plots as a list here, and you can choose a plot from the list. So there are a lot of plots. Okay, I'll see one. So he can see the detail of one plot. So this data is coming from the paying agency system. So the farmer did not have to actually enter the plot. The geometries and all the data that you see here, for example, the crop was pulled automatically from the paying agency system. And all the GIS elements like surface, etc., were also computed automatically by the system. So we can go down and see that for this plot, there are several elements that are attached. For example, there was a photo that was taken of this plot at some date, which was in fact yesterday. And there are some photo requests that have been made. So this is very preliminary, but the paying agency will be able to request explicitly a photo from a certain plot at a certain angle to the farmer, who will then have to take the photo, and the photo will be shared with the paying agency. We'll see the photo part later. The soil samples. So we see that the farmer has entered soil samples on this plot. So we can see here the detail. This is also preliminary, but the farmer can enter his own samples in the application, and this will be taken into account in further calculations later on. If there are no samples, the FAST system computes an estimate based on public data. So you can see here, this is all based on public data from the Castilla y León data layers. This is what will be used, for example, for fertilization if the farmer does not have any sample on his parcel currently. At least no data entered in the system. These are preliminary also elements, but that will be developed in the next months. So farm activities, where the farmer will be able to enter the agricultural or farm practices or activities that he's having on this plot, and the messaging system, which I mentioned earlier, where the farmer can see the systems, the messages from the paying agency that explicitly relate to this parcel. So I'm going to move on to the photos tab, and I will finish with the CAP one later. I'm going to the photos tab, so that's the same photo that we've seen earlier for the plot. So I can zoom in, and I see that the photo was in fact taken on this parcel here. So the photo itself is geotagged, and we also have the heading of the photo. Currently, it's geotagged with the mobile geolocation capabilities, but we will also integrate algorithms from the EGNSS4CAP application from the GSA, which will bring some Galileo additional processing to enhance the location that is attached to the plot. It's attached to the plot. So also, yeah, sorry. What I wanted to say was also for the EGNSS4CAP, later on we will have authentication of the geolocation to make sure that the geolocation that is attached to the picture is authenticated and cannot be forged. So we can have details of the photo here. So the photo was taken, okay, exactly on this plot. It's attached to the plot. That's okay. Some details. The farmer can add comments on his photo. Some description. This description or comments will be shared with the paying agency. And he can, of course, take a new photo. So when he takes a new photo, he has to allow the application to take his geolocation. So that's the current location of the farmer on the map. In fact, I am physically not in this place. I am in Toulouse, France, but still we simulate that we are in this location. So he can just remove the map, take a picture. What happened here is that as I am on a simulator, I cannot have a real camera. So we kind of simulate the fact that we have a camera, so the picture is the same, but it's just to show you that the picture is taken. The farmer can then review the photo before he uploads it. He can add some comments, as we mentioned earlier. And once he's done, he can actually upload the photo to the system. The photo is then uploaded, and we will see in the next demo that it also appears in the system of the paying agency. So the photo is shared with the paying agency. I will be going to, now I'm done with the photo, so I will go to the CAP tab where we have one item that we will showcase today, which is the nutrient management use case of FAST. So here the farmer has several fertilization plans that he has already computed, that we computed on the demo farm a few days ago. So he has some results already that are shared, but we are going to make a new one and start from scratch. So the farmer has to choose first on what plot he wants to compute his fertilization plan. So I use a Parcela de José. The parcels are named, so the farmer can rename the parcel. So that's the name that the farmer would have input for the system to be clearer for him. Here he has to select a crop. So the crop that is pre-filled here is a crop that comes from the Ajax system. So the farmer, if the Ajax system was correct from the previous season, then the crop also here will be correct, but the farmer could override that. Still, we will leave the same crop for the moment. And then when he has chosen the crop, we are using the FertiliCalc algorithm because we are in Castilla y León. So that's the algorithm that has been selected for Castilla y León. And the FertiliCalc algorithm has profiles. That means for each crop, you can have several ways of calculating. So we'll use here the Cebada dos Carreras profile. Then he has to select his irrigation method. When he selects his irrigation method, then there's a target yield that is selected, but he can also override the target yield. We'll use the default here proposed by the system. The values that are currently in the system are taken from the FAO statistics for Spain, but can be, of course, changed by the administrator of the system very easily, and we'll see that later. We have to also, the farmer also has to say what he did in the previous campaign, because this is needed to know for residues. So we'll say that in the previous campaign, he was doing the same, but he can also override the system and say that he was doing something different, and also what yield he achieved in the previous campaign. Some items about residues. So did you collect the residue? Did you incorporate them to the ground using tillage? So we'll say yes, and we'll say, for example, no here. The soil information. So as I mentioned earlier, this is taken from the soil samples of the farmer, because on this parcel, the farmer had soil samples. So we use his own soil samples. If he didn't have any soil samples, then we would have used estimates based on the public data. But again, the farmer is able to override the values in the form here. If he thinks that the values are not correct, he can override them, but still we have default, so he can use default values if he doesn't know better. So I'm going next. The algorithm requires you to choose a strategy. So here I'm using the default strategy, which is a reduced fertilizer with maintenance. Nitrogen in water, this is not implemented yet, but allows for correction to be applied if the crop is irrigated with water that also already contains nitrogen, and this would be taken out of the recommendation. As I didn't mention earlier that the crop was irrigated, it's not used now, and we'll use nitrogen in soil as start of season parameter, and by default it's set to 0. This is just a summary of the parameters that we have entered, and we can then compute the plan. So that's the result computed by FertiliCalc, the FertiliCalc algorithm for the farmer for this parcel. So 100 kilos of nitrogen per hectare, potassium, and phosphorus. So we are here at the NPK level. After this step in the FertiliCalc algorithm, there are further steps where you can actually go up to the recommendation of actual fertilizer kilograms. It's not implemented today, so I will not show it to you. For the moment, it stops at the NPK level. So I can go back to the plan, and I still have all my plans here. I didn't save the previous plan, so I can see all the plans that I have created. And then the plans can be submitted. That means they are by default in draft mode, so they are stored in the database of FAST, but they are not officially submitted to the paying agency. So this now I can submit it as part of the GAEC 5 and say, okay, this plan is now submitted and can be taken as my official declaration for this CAP requirement. If I go back to the CAP tab, so I showcase here the GAEC 5 use case of fertilization management. Further use cases could be implemented in the system, like water management, crop rotation. I mean, other requirements of the CAP or eco schemes of the CAP, which could be implemented as additional modules to the system later on. So I think I'm done with this, and I can move to the add-ons part. So the system is extensible. So we can see here the add-ons that are currently installed on the system of Castilla y León. The FertiliCalc algorithm that I just mentioned, which is the one that computed the plan, is installed on the system, cannot be uninstalled by unsubscribed by the user. It's there by default. So it's just to show you that the system is extensible. Same for the weather service. It's installed by default and cannot be removed by the user. The Vexist, which is the algorithm for greenhouses that will be deployed for Andalusia. I've put it here only for as an example. And the module that computes the imagery, RGB and NDVI that I showed earlier. Some extra modules can be added. We'll discuss that a bit more in the architecture part when further down in the demo. But additional modules can be added where the user can subscribe or unsubscribe to the module. And when he subscribes to the module, then there is a data sharing aspect that comes into play, where the module now has the permission to access data for this specific farmer in the FAST system. And then in the FAST system, and we'll show that later, it's one way that the system can be extended to external services who want to use FAST data. I think I'm okay with the application. I don't have anything more to show on the actual application. As I mentioned, the messaging part is not yet operational on the mobile app, so I cannot showcase it to you on the mobile. And I think I can move to the next section, which is about the paying agency system. So just allow me 1 second. So there is a second way that the FAST platform can be accessed by a paying agency or other institutions. It's from the administration portal, which is a system that is browser-based, where the access is not only through a browser or a mobile browser. There is a role-based access control, which is implemented. That means not everyone can see every item of the system. The system has full access to all the farmer data and the regional data. So what you will see, I will log in as an admin, so you will see everything. And there is nothing that is hidden. That means everything that you see in the administration interface is what is in the system. And there is no data that is stored outside of this system. The system is localized to the different languages of the current participating regions, and this time it's done at least in a preliminary version that I'm going to show you now. So now I'm logging on the actual administration portal of the system, and I am logging in as an administrator. Just to show you all the items, other users might have less items to see, depending on their permissions. But you can see here all the data that is inside the system. which corresponds to what you have seen in the mobile application. So I will go first to the add-ons. So you see the add-ons that are declared here that are the same that were declared in that you saw in the application. We see, for example, the FertiliCalc add-on here. That is the add-on that provides the NPK calculation for Spain. The add-on has API keys which allows him to calculate and to access fast data. And each module can have its own administration interface, which means that the FertiliCalc algorithm has a lot of parameters, and these parameters are hosted on a separate administration interface that is provided by the module itself, where all the parameters of the system are mentioned. So sorry, I'm going click on the wrong one. Going back, and you can see here all the chemical parameters of all the profiles, the crop profiles that were used in the system, and can be edited by the administrator of the module. So if he wants to add new profiles, remove profiles, correct existing profiles, this can be done through the administration interface of the module. So you have all the thresholds, all the parameters are mentioned in this administration portal. And there's also a sandbox that allows you to actually make simulations. So I'm not going to do it now, but to make simulations of parameters. So you can enter parameters and check that the result that you get is what you expect before you actually import these parameters into the system. So you can test your parameter set before it goes into production to an actual farmer, before an actual farmer uses your parameters. So again, I insist, this is the management console of the FertiliCalc module. The other algorithms would have a different management console depending on their own set of parameters. That will showcase that in the next demos later on when we have deployed other modules. So I am going back to the management console. And you see here that because I was in Spanish before, the interface switched to Spanish. So now it's in Spanish. I'm going to bring it back to English for everyone. So providers are just the groups of users who actually provide add-ons. So we can see here the different providers who provide add-ons. This is for managing access rights. Here we have the current list of users in the system. Not a lot of them, but you can see that I am logging in as admin, so I am staff and super user. And as soon as a user has a staff status, that means he has access to this interface that we are currently seeing. The ones that don't have access, that are not staff, are the farmers, so they are not staff, not super users, so they are farmers, and they have only access to the mobile application. Takes a long time to go back. So I don't know why it's so long. Yeah, it's coming in. Some configuration aspect that I'm not going to go through now, but includes all the colors that are used by the maps, and the extra map layers that you might want to add to the maps will also be described here in this part. And here we have the farm description. So that's all the farms that are currently in the system. The one that we just saw just now in the mobile application was a demo farm of the demo user. And here you see exactly the same data as the user sees from his own interface in the mobile application. So you have all the plots or the parcels of the farm here. And you also have access to the satellite imagery, RGB or NDVI, the same way the farmer has access to this imagery, you have access to in your administration interface. We can see that the only user currently having access to this farm is our demo user, favorite demo user, Mr. Gonzalez Sanchez. And there is only one campaign currently declared in the system for 5 hectares and 1 site. So I can go in there and I see there's only 1 site. And then I can dive inside the actual farm campaign. I can dive in, and I see here all the plots that are currently declared for this declared in the system for this specific plot, farm site plot, etc. So I see here the actual plot that we saw on the mobile application. So you see exactly the same data as the farmer, except that you, on this side of the interface, you have edit rights. That means you can also even modify the polygons if you want. So I'm going out now. We can see that the farmer has entered some soil sites. So that's how soil data is entered. The custom soil sample or soil samples that are private to the farmer are entered into the system. So that's under the soil site here. Sorry. I'm going back here. We have the campaign, so you have the list of campaigns, and one campaign is designated as being the current one, so that's the one that by default will be used by every user. But the farmers can also go back in previous campaigns in the system, in their own mobile app, or in the system for in the portal, if they want to see past data from previous campaigns. So here we have in the fieldbook part, we have a more farm or agricultural tables that help master table that are needed to operate the system. I will not go through each and every one of them, but we have, for example, the list of all the plant species that are available in the system for Castilla y León. So this list is coming from the Ajax system of Castilla y León. So that's the official nomenclature coming from Castilla y León, and that's what is used by the app as well. We have also the same, the list of varieties, etc., a list of chemical elements, a list of fertilizers that's coming from also Castilla y León and can be edited in the administration portal. It's not currently used, as I mentioned earlier, in the mobile application because we have not yet developed the recommendation in fertilizer kilos, but that will be used later on. And here you can see the fertilization plans that have been built by the farmer in the app. By each farmer, you can see to which plot it was actually attached, what algorithm was used, what were the parameters used, who uploaded it, and what was the final recommendation of the system. So that's what you've seen in the mobile app earlier. It's exactly the same data. This allows you to check, and will allow you later on to check and make reports and see what are the parcels of what farms have all their parcels with valid fertilization plans, and which parcels are missing or which farms don't have fertilization plans done, and allow to say send alerts to the user if there is some CAP requirement that is not fulfilled yet. Here we have the list of what we call imported data sources. So that's the public data that we showed on the map earlier on. So nitrate vulnerable zones, protected sites, that's Natura 2000 areas, the hydrography network. All of this is stored in the FAST system. It's imported from public data sources and stored in the FAST system under the Inspire data model. And the same data model is used across all the regions. So I will not show you each and every one of them, but I can show only, for example, one here. So we see Zona Vulnerable Zamora. We have the definition of the zone, which is here. This is imported from external data sources, and this is what is used by the system to calculate constraints that are are applied to each parcel, depending on if the farmer is in a nitrate vulnerable zone or not. These data sources can be updated then by the administrator. So when you update these layers on your system, then there is an import process that can be triggered to actually renew the data in the system. The messaging part, which is very much a work in progress currently. So I'm not going to show it to you now, but we'll include a broadcast. So that's information that are broadcast to a group of users. That is a one-way communication coming from the paying agency and pushed to all the users through the push system of the mobile phones. And you have tickets, which is more a discussion with a single farmer on a single topic, where you can attach pictures, etc. So that's the feature that will be developed in the next months. We can see here that's more for the administrator, and it will not be displayed to all the portal users. But basically, that's the authentication system of FAST with all the tokens that are currently delivered to the users for accessing the platform. And photos. So here we have the list of photos. We can see the 2 photos that I was showcasing in the app just earlier on. So there are only 2 photos currently, but you can see the same photos that are on the mobile app in the portal as well. And you have then the detail of the photo, where it was taken, etc. The geolocation information that we have. For the moment, we only have the heading, but we'll improve that later on. And then it's to what farm it's linked, if it's linked to an actual holding and a campaign, or it's linked to a plot. And also we will set access rights to the picture, so that the farmer can share a picture with a certain group of people and not with another group. And some other information about quality and upload date, which is not yet operational, but will be later on. I'm going back to the home page, and we have the geotagged photo request. We showed two of them with status open in the mobile app. You can see them here. Also, this is not operational yet, but we will develop it in the next months. I think I've went around all the paying agency portal, so I am going to move to the next section, which is okay. So we've shown the first 2 ways to access the FAST system, and there is one more, which is the direct data access through APIs. So the system uses an API technology called GraphQL. That's a technology developed by Facebook, which is now becoming very much mainstream, and allows the system to expose a single ontology to the external world. This is what the mobile application is using to connect to the system itself. It's using this same API, but the API can be open for other use cases and allows you to make requests on the data without having to pre-configure endpoints on the system side. It's going to get a bit technical, but okay, sorry. I'm checking, it's here. So this is what it looks like from the console interface, but you can access the data from any HTTP client. It's just HTTP requests, which are formatted in a certain way. And then you have access to the complete ontology of FAST, which you can see on the left of the screen. You can see all the objects that FAST is exposing to the outside world. And then you can make a request. So I can run a request here, and you get the data back in a JSON format, a standard web format, and then you can process it in your own system, should you wish to. Access rights are applied and permissions are applied to each object. That means permissions have to be set for you to access. So you need to have an API key, and then your API key will be associated to certain objects that you will have access to. That's how it works. And then you can query the data. That's also the same mechanism that is used by external applications to access farmer data. So they will have to query the same API using their own API key, and they can see the data from farmers who have subscribed to their services. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this very technical aspect, and I'm going to move forward to the architecture part of the system. I think I went over all the items of that I had to demo today, and now I'm going to showcase to explain a bit more about the architecture. Yeah, first a small point for current participating regions on the progress. So we are at the halfway of the progress, approximately, of the project. Sorry, and so it just shows you where we stand with various aspects of the platform. During the past months, a big effort has been made on actually building the infrastructure of the system that allows it to scale and serve a modular architecture for multiple regions, which have a core part and a custom part for each region. So we spent a lot of time actually implementing a sound architecture that can operate this sort of system. We started implementing the security aspects, so it's not yet in a production version, so we cannot yet open the system to the whole external world. The application, well, as you've seen, the application has already made a lot of progress. It's not yet final, but and we also need to develop the desktop version of this application for the farmers to be able to access the system through a laptop. The paying agency portal, it's a bit closer to completion. You've seen the demo earlier on. New objects will pop up and new actions will be included into the system for use cases. So that's the work that is left to do. API gateways are almost completely operational. As I mentioned, the security and permissions aspect will need to be a bit more work to be able to expose the system to the world. And we have started working on documentation, which is available on on the repository of code, and we will, which I will show you a bit later. For the custom part, we've made progress as well, so you can see where we are for. So today I showcased only Castilla y León because that's basically where we are the most advanced with regards to building custom modules. So you can see that for Castilla y León, which is almost the same for all the regions, we have imported all the data sources already. So all the connectors are done for all the data sources. The Fertilicalc algorithm, it's almost complete, but not yet. Authentication, I did not showcase it today because we are still working on it with our Castilla y León colleagues, but it's almost operational. The CUP connector to Ajax data is the same. It's almost ready for production, and the weather connector just need a bit more work on the front-end side, but otherwise the connector to the CR system from Spain and the IMET system of Spain as well is operational. For Piemonte, I mean, almost all the regions, the data sources are already loaded in the system. For Piemonte, we have implemented the Visione algorithm. We just did not yet build the front-end interface for the user, but the actual algorithm itself is implemented. Authentication also for Piemonte, it's we will be using the SPID system of Italy. It's a work in progress. We've made quite some good progress, but it's not yet ready to be included in the system. Good progress as well on the Ajax data connector. So the Ajax data is now exposed through a system from Piemonte, and we just need to build the connector on our side. And weather forecast will need a bit more work for Piemonte. For Estonia, all the data sources are loaded as well. Fertilization algorithm, it's a bit different from the other regions because this algorithm is provided by the Agricultural Research Center of Estonia. So the calculation is not done in FAST, it's done externally. And we know that they have made a very good progress on this algorithm and to expose it through APIs. So as soon as it is ready, we will build the front-end part on our side and the necessary connectors to be able to expose this algorithm to the users. Authentication is the same as Piemonte. We'll be using a statewide system called Tara There is good progress that has been made, and we have built connectors already for Tara, but they are not yet in production. Ajax Data Connector is just starting because they're not yet ready on the Estonia side. It's a work in progress. As soon as it's ready, we will build the connectors as well. For Andalusia, the data sources, not all of them are loaded yet. A bit more work on the soil data needed. The fertilization algorithm, the FertiliCalc algorithm is common to Castilla y León in Andalusia, so that's the same progress, obviously. The VEXIST, which is a second algorithm used for greenhouses, done by the University of Almeria. It's the same as the Visione algorithm of Italy. That means the algorithm is ready on the backend side. I mean, all the calculations are ready. We just did not yet build the interface for it. Authentication for Andalusia, it's a work in progress on Andalusia side, and as soon as it's ready, we'll have the connector ready on our side as well. Same for the Ajax data connector, even though for Andalusia the system is not Ajax, it's called Reafa, the system that we will be using. And the weather is shared with Castilla y León, so it's the same status. Just to give you an overview of where the developments are. So there are a lot more than what we showed today in the demos, because a lot of modules are ready for each region. Just today we showcased only Castilla y León. So I'm going to move to the next part, which is about the architecture of the system and how it works and how it can be extended. We tried to make it not too technical, but still it will involve some technicalities. So the system from a very high level is made of an infrastructure. So for the infrastructure, the FAST platform currently is deployed on the SoBlue DIAS. So the DIAS are the DIASs, because there are several of them, are platforms that have been funded by the European Commission to host Copernicus products and computing capabilities in the same place, which is exactly what FAST is doing. We are using Copernicus products that you can see on the right. That's a Sentinel imagery, but also computing capabilities to actually do all the calculations that are necessary to operate the system. So it provides CPU, RAM, and storage. On top of this infrastructure layer, we add an orchestration layer, which is called Kubernetes, which is, let's say, the standard now for container orchestration of scalable systems. So the whole system runs on a Kubernetes layer. The Kubernetes layer is portable. That means the system could be deployed on another DIAS without rebuilding the whole system. We just need to redeploy the Kubernetes layer on another DIAS, and then the whole system will restart. It could also be deployed on multiple DIASs through what we call a federation. That means the system, it's a single system, but that is deployed on several infrastructures, but they are all federated and operated as a single system. On top of this container orchestration, we have a storage layer where we store, obviously, Earth observation data. It's not stored by FAST. It's stored by the DIAS themselves. But that's the advantage of being on the DIAS, is that the products are very close to the actual computing, so the computing is faster. We store, as I mentioned earlier, all the public data, like nitrate vulnerable zones, Natura 2000, etc. We store that also. We store user-generated data. You've seen it earlier, and we expose or we consume APIs from outside services, like the weather service, for example, is consuming live data from services provided by, for example, for Spain, it was the AEMET service, which is a national meteorological service of Spain, and we connect live to this data. This data is stored in multiple databases, depending on each module. We'll see that later, but for example, the weather module has its own storage system, which is separate from the actual storage system of FAST, or the NDVI module has its own storage system, again, that is separate. So the architecture is modular. And we can see that there are multiple services that run on the platform concurrently, and it's orchestrated in real time. Each service embarks its own computing capabilities, its own storage, and its own APIs that are then exposed to the access layers that we've seen earlier, so the mobile application, the portal, and the API. All this infrastructure is operated through what we call a continuous integration, continuous deployment pipeline. And there is a single source of truth. So all the configuration of the system is declared in code. And this configuration is then automatically applied through these technologies. But I'm not going to go too deep into this. But the configuration is automatically applied to the system. And if the system deviates from the expected configuration, then the configuration is automatically reapplied so that the system is stable. So I'm going to go to the next slide. I mentioned several times earlier about common core modules, custom modules, add-on modules. So that's a terminology that we use for FAST, but I'm going to make it a bit more explicit in the next two slides. So we run a lot of services on the platform, and a lot of services are common to all the regions. So on the platform, each region has its own, let's say, technically it's called a namespace, so its own namespace where the services for this region are running, and each service from each region cannot see anything from the other region. So there is a strong isolation between the regions, but there is a code sharing between them. That means the services, for example, the service that computes the tiles or the geometries of nitrate vulnerable zone, it's something that is common to all the regions. So that's what we call the core code base, the core services, which is approximately 80% of the code base. That means 80% is common to all the regions. This is possible because we normalize all the data to a single ontology, which is mostly based on the Inspire ontology of the JRC, and also on custom objects that we have built when they were not available from the Inspire data model. So 80% of the code base is common to all regions, and then we have custom services that are deployed only in certain regions. I will take an example, the Ajax connection of Castilla y León, which is connection to the Organismo Pagador de Castilla y León, is only deployed in Castilla y León, obviously, and it's a different one that is deployed in Estonia or in Piemonte or in Andalusia. So that's custom services. So that's services that are needed for the platform to run, but that are different for each region. The data as well is segregated. That means the database of Castilla y León is completely different from the database of Piemonte or Estonia. It's not a single database, it's multiple databases, and each region, there is no, we don't mix the data between regions in databases. They are completely isolated. Add-ons, I mentioned earlier, for example, the FertiliCalc, which does the NPK calculation for Spain. It's an add-on that is shared between here Castilla y León and Andalusia. So both of them would be using the same add-on called FertiliCalc. Also, they would be using the same weather service because it's a Spanish national service. So it will be shared between the two. So the service would be deployed twice, once in the Castilla y León part of the system and once in the Andalusia part of the system. I think I have the next slide, which makes it, which repeats more or less what I just said. So the core parts, core modules, storage, API gateways, the backends, all the authentication layer that is the fast authentication for the fast system. That is all this is core. custom modules, all what is necessary to connect to national systems. So custom authentication systems like paying agency or national ID systems I mentioned earlier. Data import pipelines also are custom to each region because the data sources are not normalized, and we normalize them, or the Ajax system connector, etc. And add-ons that are services that are shared between regions. For example, the Sentinel imagery service, it's which displays the map that is on the right-hand side of my screen. Is shared between all the regions, but the Fertili-Calc algorithm is only shared between Andalusia and Castilla y León. I'm going to move to the next slide. So the system is modular. I think you understood that from what I just explained about how the system is architectured. I will show that in the code just after, very quickly. So it's based on Docker deployments. So the system orchestrates Docker containers where the services are running, including the storage. So the system modular, you can just add more containers for new services, and they will be added to the actual configuration of the system. And then they will be deployed in the region that you have chosen. So each regional deployment, as I mentioned, it's a combination of core modules that are shared between regions, custom modules that are specific to a region, and add-ons that can be deployed in some regions and not others, depending on the choice of the administrator. And the modules are using standard technologies, as I mentioned, Docker, standard technologies, so they can be are self-contained and can in fact be reused and run on another system should you wish to, outside FAST. As long as you can run containers, you can run modules from the FAST system. So I can show that what this means in practice in the code. So I'm just going back here. So this is the code base of FAST. It's currently private, so we did not open it to everyone. We plan on starting opening it at the end of this month in read-only mode. And you can see here the module. So I'm going here. You can see the core module of the FAST platform, so which contains all the core services of the platform. Then you have the custom modules of the platform, which contain, again, what is specific to Estonia, Castilla y León, Andalusia, and Piemonte. I'm not going to dive into the code, but just to show that this is actually how the code is architectured. And you have the modules. I mentioned Fertili-Calc earlier. Again, that's a module that you could very well take and run somewhere else should you wish to. And you have the CR-IMET, which is a weather add-on for Spain that is being used in the mobile app just here. You can see the other algorithms like Visione I mentioned earlier for Piemonte, which is the code is already here. It's already done. We just have to do the user interface for it. So let me go back to the presentation. Scalability of the system. So it's a single platform that is operated from a single place on a single cluster of machines. But still, as it's based on containers and on the Kubernetes system, it scales independently. The services scale independently and automatically. So up to very high scale because the system scales horizontally. So we can the system automatically starts new services if needed, and even starts and stop new machines on the cloud, on the DIaaS if needed. I think I have a slide just after that shows this. Yes. So we can see here, it's a bit technical, but that's the service that computes the small tiles of nitrate vulnerable zones, for example. And we can see on the bottom graph that when the load increases, then the system automatically increases the number of services that are running. And as soon as the load decreases, so here we explicitly added more load on the system to have it react. When it goes down, then the number of services decreases. And if it decreases down to 0 if needed, That means services that are not used are not started. And as soon as there is usage needed, the service starts automatically immediately. So I'm going back to the previous slide. There are a lot of services. We're talking a lot about services or microservices. So the system is quite a complex machinery, but it's observed. That means there are a lot of systems that are injected into the system to understand in real time what is happening in the system, if there are any issues, so that the actions can be taken immediately. Also, this layer allows the security policies to be enforced from a central place, which ensures that the services that are not allowed to talk together cannot talk together. And the system is constantly monitored and with automatic failover. So that means if one service crashes, then immediately the orchestration system will start new services. I will just have something to show here as well. So here you can see all the services that are currently running on the demo system. And you can see it's all green, so almost all green, so everything is working. And you can see that the number of requests that go from one system to another, and that's how the system is monitored. There are also other aspects. I'm not going to go in too much into details, but it's just to show that the complexity that is being deployed is monitored at all times. And so we know what is happening at all times and can react immediately. Let me go back here. Okay, I think that's all I had about real architecture. The last point was how can you extend fast after what you've seen or what will be delivered at the end of the year. There are several ways that the FAST system can be extended. The first way, obviously, is to add new services running on the actual FAST platform. So you build a new service, it's deployed on the platform, and it's displayed inside the FAST interface, like a new algorithm or a new CAP use case, like I mentioned earlier. Then you can actually deploy that on the FAST platform. Then you would get the benefit of having the scalability of the system, the automatic failover, etc. All the things that go with the system, and the add-on will be integrated inside the user interfaces, like the mobile application. So that's one way to extend the system. Another way, a bit more hybrid, is that in fact you could have a system that is already running somewhere that is running, and you want to display the output of this system to the FAST users in the FAST interface. This is also feasible. The FAST system, as we showed for the weather, for example, can connect to external systems. So it's just a matter of building the right connectors, and then this system could be displayed inside the FAST interface of the user. And you can have complete third-party services that are running not on the FAST platform, that have their own user interfaces. And for this system, then the user has to subscribe in the FAST sense. That means in the FAST system, he has to accept to share his data with this service. I will show this in the next slides. And then he would be consuming the service on their own interface. I mean, the interface proposed by the service, not inside FAST. But this service would have access to FAST data of the user to propose additional services. There are some restrictions, obviously, on authentication and permissions, but that will be explicited later on. So that's an example of one service that is currently running on the FAST platform. So I took the example of the service that does the NDVI image that is on the right-hand side. This service is made of multiple containers that run concurrently. They are operated by the FAST platform, but they are running concurrently. One container actually stores a database of image to know which ones we have already processed and which ones we have not. One watches the catalog provided by Soblu to check if there are new images that have been made available. So as soon as a new image is made available, then it's pushed to the actual tiling service that does all the calculations and make the small tiles. This service scales independently of the other services. So it's automatically provided by the platform. And then we'll store all the small tiles to an object storage where the mobile application can actually consume them. And this module will expose its own gateway to say, okay, I have this image and this image and this image to provide to the system. And this gateway will be federated to the main gateway of FAST, where it's consumed by the actual mobile application, for example. I'm repeating what's on the left, but yes, the authentication is provided by this gateway here. So that means nothing goes inside the FAST system without going through the authentication at the FAST API gateway level. So when the module will get the request from the user is already authenticated, so the module does not have to deploy its own authentication system. It's provided by FAST out of the box. So that's one example. I think I had one example of an external service connecting to FAST. So for example, an example service of smart farming that already exists, but want to take advantage of the data stored inside FAST. So as I mentioned, for these services, the user has to subscribe to the actual service inside the mobile application. So that's just, I'll show you again, that's here. I'll just unsubscribe, yes, I have to subscribe. Once he subscribes, we will add a bit more screens about privacy, but basically the farmer is agreeing to share his data with this service. Then he can go on this service, and once he's on this service, which is external to FAST, this service is allowed to query data of the user inside the FAST platform. So that's how it works. There are API keys that are involved. I will not get too technical, but that's the principle that you can, in fact, take advantage of the data stored in the FAST platform without actually being hosted on the FAST platform. Important note, as I mentioned earlier, is that FAST uses a single data model, a single ontology for all the regions. So all the data is always stored the same way. So if you build a service that connects to FAST on a certain region, 99% of what you have done will be replicable to other regions as well, out of the box, because it's the same ontology and the same data model. And I think I'm...
So I think, at least for me, and I don't know, it's clear that the objective is to serve the farmers, is to provide information to the farmers. We are starting with
Isidro, in your website, www.ec.european.eu, there is the FAST tool use will also bring environmentally benefit for the farmers, such as this in your website.
Yeah,
so,
but until now we are providing, for example, information regarding to the legal limits. This is a very big step. It's not a simple step. Maybe in Spain or in Italy it's simple just to provide a ceiling value, but in other member states there is a big complication to get a nutrient management plan compliant with the legislation. So you see, we are on this direction. We are not. The intention is not getting data from the farmer. The intention is totally the opposite. And for me, it's clear, Salvatore. But I agree with you that we have to continue working on this direction. No.
So I just have a comment that is from our side of from DG Defis, and also in light of the action, the FAST action itself, because what we are part of here is an action that we are supported in the deployment of this infrastructure and the tool and so on. But also another element of this action is a skills part, in the fact that, as it was said, for instance from Piemonte, what we're doing, we're developing a new way of working for the development of digital tools that will actually, for the EU Space program and for Copernicus, it would allow people in the public sector, in the paying agencies, to take ownership of their needs in terms of data and systems and information, and be able to clearly express them in order to get the products that they need, and that they can actually get our data and information to the farmers. So what I'm inviting you to do on the side of the paying agency is to take ownership of this. And you're saying there are lots of projects that are concurring, where all these projects have you somehow in the center. So you participate in NIVA, you participate in FAST, you participate in RECAP or a variety of other projects. It is you and your systems and the farmers that you're serving to make, it's up to you to take the bits and pieces that are useful, to integrate them. Especially that is one of the biggest elements of the philosophy of this architecture, is that you can actually use different services, different modules, integrate them in a system that serves you as a paying agency and the farmer. So that is your act. So you're saying, I found this solution for this. You can act, the idea of this is that it would evolve as an ecosystem, that you would take the tool, make it yours, and build on it according to the local needs of your farmers, of your agency, according to the architecture of your CAP measures that you're building right now. Try to think of, like, how can I use this tool and this system to implement easily, for instance, a digitalized eco scheme, or to implement my organic farming measure. What are the systems that I already have, and what are the extra pieces that I need in order to grow this for my use and the benefits of the farmer? So that's the idea. We are doing a first step with this action and with this development, but it is for the member state agency to take ownership of it and then develop it in a direction that is consistent with their interests. Like, if you know yourselves, you're participating in this NIVA project, you know where you are with the development of that, what would be a useful piece to integrate here, or what would be a useful piece to reuse. That is also, that's why we are part of an interoperability action at EU level, so that we can take these different solutions, reuse them in different member states. And you have seen that from Julien's presentation, that the architecture of this is very much created in a way that solutions can be used, reused from one region to the other in a member state, and even from one member state to the other. And the core elements of the platform, they will also be evolving in line with what the life of this platform and this solution would be. So I just wanted to say that, and please learn this from this experience also, that you are the owners of this and you decide in which direction and what is useful for you from this or for whatever other EU project that you participate in. Thank you.